Today we're celebrating a pretty big milestone. It's the Unschooling Mom2Mom anniversary. We are the longest running unschooling space on social media. And I gotta say, that kind of longevity, it takes some stamina, right? If you've been around since the early days, you know how all this started. Back in 2014, we were noticing something over and over again. Parents were curious about unschooling. They wanted to understand it. But when they went looking for help, what they found was a lot of criticism. It was rough out there. Ask a question that showed you didn't really get it, you'd get jumped on. Use the wrong phrase, or heaven forbid, say something too schooly, people would pounce. And honestly, that just wasn't going to work for me. I had already been quietly blogging for nearly a decade. I knew unschooling. And I also knew that most mainstream parents like I was, weren't hearing the message that unschooling could actually work for them. They were hearing that unless they got it perfect, they didn't belong. And that just wasn't true. I knew that even almost unschooling could be a step in the right direction, that it wasn't some miserable failed attempt. It was part of the process, because that's what this is, a process of unlearning the things that we were taught to believe about kids and learning and control, a process of finding a better way. So we took an unschooling approach and created something different. What is that phrase about if you're not welcome at the table, build your own table? That's what we did. Unschooling Mom2Mom became a space where curiosity was welcomed, where support came first, where parents didn't need to know all the right terms to use or feel behind because they hadn't read the few unschooling books that were out there then. We weren't looking for a place to flex our unschooling muscles when somebody said something wrong or slipped into a schooly thought. We were looking for common ground, because that's where the real connection happens. That's where the light bulb moments start. And I knew that fear was what was driving their doubts, their resistance, their clinging to structure. But I also knew that with a little information and a little support, families could let that go, just like I had. And when they did, life got so much better. So today, this little unschooling Mom2Mom community has grown into something I never could have fully imagined back then. There's over 49,000 members in the Facebook group, 37,000 followers on the public Facebook page, 26,000 on Instagram, and more than 345,000 podcast downloads. It's become the largest unschooling presence online. And more importantly, it's become a space where thousands of families have found clarity and confidence and connection on this path. Has it changed over the years? Absolutely. In the beginning, it was the wild, wild west. But we had a crew of strong, thoughtful unschooling mamas helping moderate, keeping conversations on track, protecting the tone that we wanted to set. And over time, the group has morphed, just like we all do. We paused questions for a while even. We navigated algorithm shifts and social changes. But this summer, we've reopened the gates to welcome a new wave of parents who are realizing that something about school is not working. Something about the pressure, the power struggles, the lack of autonomy. It just doesn't feel right. Maybe their homeschooling curriculum didn't quite cut it, and they're going to have to figure out another way. So they come to Unschooling Mom2Mom and they're wondering, could this be the better way? This podcast, this community, this work, it's here to say yes, it can. And you don't have to figure it out alone. So whether you've been here from the start or you've just stumbled onto the podcast today, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, for asking the questions, for choosing connection over control, for being brave enough to do it differently. Because when you speak publicly, in comments or posts, thousands who were too scared to post are quietly nodding along. You're actually making a huge contribution to the community. You're helping others see that they're not alone. They thought that too. And they're glad you were brave enough to say it out loud. So if you're not already in the Facebook group, come join us. Check out the website. Because what you need now isn't just information. You need handholding that actually grows your confidence as the rest of the world heads back to school. And that's exactly what the 30-day reset is here to do. You don't have to do this alone. You never did. Here's to another 11 years of unschooling support and whatever comes next. Thanks for being here.